Hi, Caleb with Brownells here. In today's quick tip, I'm going to be going over AR sling setup, specifically how I set up my sling for use with my AR-15. So, first thing you're going to need is going to be, of course, a sling, and if you have a rifle, you need a sling. That's all there is to that. And the sling we're going to be using here is the Viking Tactics, which is a great sling. It's awesome. There's a lot of other good ones out there. Blue Force Gear makes a great one. Magpul. Some other companies. Just make sure you're not getting your sling on wish.com. Buy good gear. So, also what we're going to be using is QD attachments. These aren't 100% necessary, but I highly recommend them. The reason being is because a lot of your stocks today have QD attachment points as well as the handguards in multiple places. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So if you've seen me do any kind of shooting or anything like that in the past, you know that I'm primarily left-handed, but I'm going to do this right-handed for you guys. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and clear the rifle here since I'm going to be manipulating it quite a bit. Alright, so for a right-handed shooter, and like I said, this is the way I personally do it, what I'm going to do is mount the rear portion of the sling on the opposite side. So it's going to be ejection port side if you're a right-handed shooter. And I'll get into why in just a moment here. So mount that there. Plugs right in. QD. Now, the front end of it is going to come around the butt. And I'm going to mount it to the QD closest to the receiver. You can mount it further out, especially on longer handguards like this. I know a lot of guys out there prefer to mount theirs further out, and it's really going to come down to personal preference for the most part. If you spend a lot of time with the rifle on your back, which not many of us do nowadays, especially with the AR-15, then mounting it up here is beneficial, but we're going to go ahead and plug it in right there. And another thing I'll note real quick, if you're running a short handguard, mounting it on the front of the handguard can get in the way of your support hand, as it often does, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about if you try to run it that way. So, and before we go any further here, I'm going to mention that this is a 2-point sling. So 2-point sling means that this connects in 2 points, 1 point here and 1 point here. Back when I was in Afghanistan, single-point slings were the hot thing, but the rifle tends to fall down and hit you in the knees and in the junk and a lot of other places, and they're just not as cool as they were back in the day. So, also there's 3-point slings out there. So if you're thinking about running a 3-point sling, what you need to do is like find the nearest doorway and slam your head in it, and that's going to be less painful than setting up and manipulating a 3-point sling. So now that we got that out of the way as an option whatsoever, let's continue on to the 2-point sling. Alright, so what we can do is go ahead and crawl inside here and just throw it over your neck, and then throw your support arm through, and then you can let it hang. So this is pretty loose right now. We can tighten it up here and end up with something just like this. So this is still kind of a little loose for most uses, but you'll see what I'm talking about here whenever I start talking about different retention and things like that. So the reason we went on the opposite side rather than the same side on this this QD attachment here is so that whenever we lift up the firearm, it falls naturally right into the cup of our shoulder, which is extremely convenient. So the rifle's tied into my body right now. I don't even have to use my trigger arm here. I can just use my support, and bam, it's right in the shoulder, which also is an important thing to consider whenever you're talking about how far out your stock is or your length of pull. But this one's set up perfectly, so it falls right there. Now, another reason we come around that opposite side is because it gives us a little bit more slack. So if we were going to switch shoulders, which we'll have to back off just a little here, we can do that. And me personally, I don't like to switch like that. If I'm in a situation where I know I'm going to need to be switching shoulders, I'll just crawl out one side and hang it around my neck. That way I still have retention of the firearm, but I can throw up either side super easy, no problem there. So that is how I run my 2-point sling. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them down below. This is mostly personal preference, so if you run yours a different way, let us know in the comments. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.